So thank you all for being here. We're happy that you felt called to be here today. Um, just for those of you who don't know us, we are Danish and we are speaking English because we offer this work internationally. And I also see we have a few people here from Holland and some from Sweden, and it's wonderful to see. And Adam, I think maybe you're in what, South America or something. Um, so yeah, for those that don't know us, my name is Andreas. This is Jacoba, and we are the co-creators and the facilitators of Reunion. And right now we're close to finishing a cohort that we're in right now. I see Matilda is here. She's actually in the present cohort. And soon we will begin the next one. It starts March 3rd, I believe. Yeah. So, like I said, for those of you who don't know us, just a little bit about our background, so you know. Between the two of us, we have been guiding breathwork and sound healing and circling and coaching, one-to-one mentorship, and a lot of plant medicine ceremonies for many years. I think Shikoba was probably one of the first actually to offer breathwork in Denmark, soon 11 years ago. She has also trained facilitators in breathwork, and yeah, we both had this deep and long commitment to and dedication to the plant path, especially the traditions from Peru and Brazil. So over a decade of immersions and many ceremonies facilitated. We've worked with Kambo for some years and guided other longer containers, for embodiment and for uncovering your soul's unique essence, you could say. And I just mention it, so we've been around, we've been on the so-called healing journey for a long time, or like the awakening journey. Done the work for a long time, which is also a really big reason why this whole container, this whole path was born.
Of Reunion.
Of Reunion, thank you. Not because we set out to build a program that was kind of standing on the shoulders of all this experience and work, but much more because we actually because Shikoba followed, the thread of life, you could say. A deeper calling to return to what is essential, to remember kind of what it means to live in true relationship with life, in true relationship with the feminine, with the masculine, and with the truth that's unfolding in every moment. I don't know if you want to add a little bit about the origin story.
Well, as Andreas mentioned, Reunion was born from these many years of being on this journey and just observing and noticing, what is working, what is not working, in the all of these beautiful modalities, what actually supports, what doesn't, and what can perhaps remove us from actual truth and just bring us into more of the mind and figuring it out and managing and controlling that actually removes us as we see it from the essence of this path. And Reunion is for us a return to something very simple, and it came from all of the work we've been doing, but also a vision that I personally had of this work, and in my opinion, this is the path of Reunion, and the way we see it is the path that we will all eventually return to when we stop seeking, and come back to where life is. And this is what reunion is all about, returning to life where it is in truth, without managing, controlling, without needing any modalities, really. Returning to the essence. And we will speak a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the reason for mentioning, our background and everything that we've gone through is that we have been blessed, for quite some years now to be able to sustain ourselves full time with, working with all these beautiful modalities, and therefore we've also seen a lot of people coming, you know, to us and exploring the different modalities and having deep insights and peak experiences, and then like really really struggling actually on the other side to integrate and to to actually learn how to be with life the way it is right now in this moment, not in the peak state of ceremony, but also on that the Monday after when the blues arrives. And so something kind of essential beyond just the integration program or whatever, but something essential felt like it was missing, and that's kind of what you tapped into in the jungle. But that's a story for another time. Yeah, so what we want to share with you here tonight is very much like it's not a new method, it's not a new belief system, it's not something new for the mind to take on, it's not a new skill. It's the way we see it, it's a remembering, it's a return, like a realignment with something that we believe lives inherent in all of us and is kind of just waiting to be reawakened. And this is what we call the voice of creation, of God, of your higher self consciousness, the Tao, whatever you're comfortable with, like whatever you want to call it, but the energy of creation. And so let's begin with the deeper why of this container, which is something we all live inside but very rarely kind of actually examine, which is the conditioned mind, the conditioning we all carry in our minds. It's like the operating system is what we usually call it, that we're all born into. Not because we chose it, but because it was already running when we arrived here. Like from the moment we took our first breath, we start to absorb the world around us. Not just consciously, but also energetically, from our lineage, from our society, from our parents, and so on. And we begin quite early to kind of internalize our parents' behaviors, their emotional availability, their expectations, the tone in their voice, the way they handled anger, how they dealt with sadness, what was allowed, what was pushed away and ignored. And so very, very, very early on, we begin to learn, in the beginning, not even with words, but, with our bodies. Like how do I need to be in order to stay safe? How do I need to be in order to be loved, to be accepted and included? And for some, maybe many, maybe love only came when you were helpful, or the good girl, the good boy, when you were quiet, when you were cheerful. Maybe you kind of had to hide your anger, stay strong, perform actually. Maybe you weren't allowed to need much in order to receive the love and the acknowledgement. And without us even knowing it, all of this, it creeps in and it starts to create these adaptations in our mind. The conditioning begins, and it becomes kind of the lens through which we see reality, or what we think is reality. And then, add on top of this culture, society, the circumstances in which we're raised, a culture which is very often shaped by, the values of like productivity and control, logic, and, independence is a big one. And this idea, this relentless pursuit of growth and progress, evolution, this illusion of eternal growth, that we all live in. And like I said, all this, it seeps into our minds, and it becomes slowly like our dominant operating system. And actually not just in our minds, but in our bodies, in our nervous system, in our impulses, our behaviors, our choices, and in our relationships. And we might be aware of it, or maybe we're not, but it tells us constantly, like, be independent and make something of yourself, and don't feel too much, and don't take too much space, achieve, go and make your mark, always improve, even actually spiritually, is what we've seen. This mindset actually lives there too, this mindset of constant striving, like telling ourselves that, the version of you which is right now is not enough. But here's the truth. Here's our truth. The conditioned mind is actually really afraid. It's afraid of chaos. It's afraid of failure. It's afraid of vulnerability. It's afraid of the unknown, which is kind of like the only constant we have in this life, is the unknown, because everything changes all the time. So the mind and the conditioning is trying to manage life, kind of to protect us, So it's managing and controlling and predicting, and instead of actually participating in life, instead of, living life. So it tries to plan instead of listen, it controls, like I said, instead of leaning into trust. It's trying to fix all the time instead of feeling what is there. It's working instead of, allowing rest. It's constantly trying to optimize instead of, trying to surrender. And it's important to say that, this mind of ours, it's a beautiful thing. We love the mind. We don't want to leave the mind behind. So it's not evil, but it's built to survive and protect us. And now, within all the conditioning that we've received, it's kind of the way we usually phrase it. It's kind of like we have a virus in the operating system, or like this. It's a disease that is actually kind of running our lives, because it treats life as something that must be managed all the time. It wants us to play safe in order not to, obstruct the status quo and avoid the unknown. And that's very much like the root of what we're all facing, personally, relationally, globally. And also a big reason why we felt called to offer this, because you start to really see the results of this everywhere, without people actually maybe knowing that this is the cause. You see the burnout, the numbness, the anxiety, the disconnection from the body, the disconnection from nature, the disconnection from each other. Because, many of us have normalized a lot of this, and normalized needing coffee in the morning to feel alive, not sleeping well, losing ourselves constantly in our screens, that the doom scroll numbing, for the parents, maybe sometimes struggling to be even present with our kids and feeling unseen in our relationships, and for many people actually in this time feeling like they don't maybe really belong anywhere. And so the mind is like, okay, how to fix this, how to keep away this badness. And then we start running, from one thing to the next. We check our phones 150 times a day. We measure success of how, busy we are. We go to the next retreat, the next ceremony, we go to the gym. And a lot of it, I'm not saying all of it, of course, but a lot of it is often coming from the fact that we have such a hard time being with life where it actually is, being with our deep grief, being with our deep exhaustion, our pain, or numbness, which is sometimes even worse, not feeling anything, feeling paralyzed. And all the while, the earth is burning and our relationships are breaking down and our children are inheriting stress before they can even speak. And, like I said before, we've even taken this mindset with us into the healing world. Seeing how stuff is framed these days with like breath work is becoming a productivity tool, Meditation is a way to calm down so you can perform better, be more productive. Trauma work, shadow work, all this stuff is something kind of to take off a box somehow. So we're starting, we're trying to do healing right instead of actually just meeting what is here, which is like our whole, our belief behind this is that we actually have everything we need inside us. And like I said, we offer a lot of healing modalities. We are not going to stop that. We had a break, but we needed really to find out how to offer this from a new place. So don't hear me saying breathwork and meditation and everything is bad. It's just we have to be really, 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 really mindful of where we approach it from. So because there is a reason that, many, like I said in the beginning, many feel that the healing modalities that used to work doesn't really offer much change anymore, As we see it, many are even beginning to feel like resistance to a lot of the healing modalities out there. Reading the same stuff, all the ceremonies offer the same and the chance to connect with your heart and many people are like, oh, shut up, we've been there and I'm still here and life is still really fucking hard. So, why doesn't it work? And as we see it, our truth again is it's because we're still trying, we're trying to heal using the same system that caused the wound to start with. We're using the same operating system, the conditioned mind we're talking about, to try and heal the very thing that it created. We're trying to think our way into feeling. We're trying to, control our way into trust, or like fix with the mind into wholeness, you could say. But you can't rewire this disease using the disease. It doesn't work like that. So as we see it, this offering and like the healing path in general, it's not about acquiring more tools. We don't need to optimize more. We don't need to fix ourselves. What we invite you to and what we think we need is to actually come back to life. Come back to life. Which starts by seeing the operating system that is running us. And we don't do this to shame it. It's not to make it wrong. It's not to, punish ourselves for it, but it's to recognize, this is not who I am in my essence. This is an illusion, This is my, like I said in the beginning, this is the ways I learned to adapt to a world. It's an old program that I've been running for decades. many of us, maybe our entire lives, running the same program and expecting new outcomes.
All of us for our entire lives, not some.
All of us, present company included, all of us. And so this is where this path that we are, inviting people into now is actually about unlearning. Unlearning all that we carry up here. On unlearning all this conditioning. Which leads to the poles, the masculine, the feminine, and how this, what it looks like for each of the polarities. And maybe you want to speak about the feminine.
Yeah, I can talk a bit about the feminine, but I also want to say that when we use the words feminine and masculine within this reunion container, we're not just talking about men and women. We're talking about two of the core principles of life, two movements of energy, two aspects of consciousness that live inside every one of us, regardless of gender. But we can start with how it shows up for many women and how culture has deeply, deeply, deeply distorted the feminine, which I'm sure many of you know and have felt. For thousands of years, the feminine has had to survive in systems that were not built for us. Even today, despite progress and rights and visibility, the suppression of the feminine remains deeply present, because the feminine is asked to fit into a mold that denies her cyclical nature, her deep emotions, her knowing, and her truth. And modern culture, nowadays say women can be anything, but often with the fine print, only if you can perform inside a system that was designed around male biology. A system built in linear time, 40-hour weeks, and constant output. And many women, have this deep feeling, when, at least with the women I talk to, often feeling like I'm asked to be nurturing, but also efficient. I'm supposed to be soft, but not too soft. I'm supposed to be powerful, but I'm not supposed to be threatening. I'm supposed to be expressive, but I'm not supposed to be too much. I'm asked to speak my truth, but speak it nicely. And, the feminine is expected to succeed, perform, achieve, raise conscious children, manage all the emotional labor in her relationship, do her healing work, and often still be the one to do the laundry and remember all the birthdays and organize the holiday. And in that way, many women feel that she's expected to both be the river and the riverbank, to feel deeply, but also still manage all the logistics and hold the container of the relationship. And it's really exhausting. And I've seen this in so many women, that they are reaching this exhaustion point, which leads to hypervigilance and really hardened nervous systems and a burned out intuition, overextension, and resignation, pulling back. And many women having moved mostly into their masculine expression just to survive and to manage all of this. Even the modern liberation of feminine sexuality comes with strings attached to it. Many women still feel judged, still expected to perform, still sexualized. And this is a deep conditioning that lives within all of us. And beneath all of this lives something so much deeper that so many women senses: the inherited memory of centuries of silencing and suppression and the fight for survival to actually feel safe in this world. So this isn't just personal, it's also ancestral, and it lives so, so, so deeply in the feminine body. And when a woman breaks down, reach that exhaustion, it's not about that moment. It's the accumulation of years, centuries of pain. And the feminine doesn't soften through awareness alone. She softens in safety, emotional safety, physical safety. And that's where the masculine comes in.
Yeah, so we could, it's very apparent that there is a femininity crisis, and has been for a long time, but there's also a very real masculinity crisis. The mirror, of course. Um, because, as we talked about in the beginning, as the conditioned mind took over culture, men were, cut off or like severed from their original like initiations, from their relationship to their purpose and to like their innate original role, their original kind of responsibility, the traditional roles, as protector and provider and riverbank, holder of structure, were stripped from us. Many institutions and governments and so on have actually taken over many of them. So no wonder men are like, there's an innate urge, but where to put this energy, And so what came out kind of on the other side is also distortions, Either it's this very patriarchal dominance that we see and have seen for many, many years, or now as many men are starting to, enter into this work, there's this passive collapse going on. So it's like these are the poles, You see it everywhere, like men who are emotionally very open, emotionally intelligent, but they have no structure, no direction, no containment. It's like men who are sensitive but don't have a backbone, which is why we so often in this work speak about that we men need to build a backbone again. So many men who are very capable, but like I said in the beginning, disconnected completely from meaning and from purpose, and then some actually, which we also have seen a lot in the present container. We have like men who are actually ashamed of their power, like paralyzed in it, like I'm a white cis male, I'm the scum of the earth, so what can I do? And then it's just like paralysis, the fear of actually, if I step into my power, will I then be toxic? Will I hurt everybody? Or maybe they're totally unconscious about, their power. And it makes sense because boys, we grow up without any rites of passage, and without, men grow up without any elders. And these initiations that are missing are replaced by this mantra of productivity and performance, and we numb ourselves with food and pornography, and it's a very real pain for men. We could look at statistics. Men are more likely to commit suicide. We're falling behind in education. A lot of men feel super unneeded and untrusted and kind of disposable, But, and this is very essential, and this is what this is one of the things that we are inviting the men on this path into seeing and embodying, is the fact that it is not the feminine's job to carry that pain. Hard one for me to learn, but it makes so much sense, because the feminine doesn't just experience men as, isolated individuals. She kind of experiences the masculine as a field, as a collective, because of all these, like we are talking 3,000 years more or less of suppression and trauma. And like Shikova said, this lives in her cells. So when a man, kind of collapses into self-doubt, or when he's passive or unable to hold his ground, the feminine doesn't just feel this man, she feels like men as a field, the collective, the history of what the masculine is like. And this is why emotional intelligence, emotional awareness is not enough. It's not enough to say the right words. This has been our experience for a long time, that I could understand everything up here. I could speak all the right things, but my embodiment wasn't there. In conflicts, I would go directly into my little wounded boy who's like, what about me? Who's seeing me? All the pain that I just spoke about. So it's not enough to kind of do the work intellectually. The masculine as we see it, we must learn to carry more weight again. Not in the old kind of dominance and control way, but through like embodied presence, structure, the willingness to feel discomfort and actually staying in it. Like I said, building the backbone again. To create the safety Shikova talked about, the emotional safety and the physical safety. And it's not about perfection, it's just about stability. Protecting, like not through rescuing or something, but by holding a grounded and attuned presence that can meet the feminine exactly where she is. Exactly as she is. Even when she's coming from shadows. This is the riverbank, like the real riverbank, to become the kind of man that doesn't need, to be seen in that doesn't need to be right, but can just hold the feminine in her pain. Being strong enough for that river to flow again, to soften into that flow. And this is not polarity work. It's not about an idea of gender roles or ideals of like archetypes or something. As we see it, it's actually just about returning to this original innate design. And through that, when we do that, healing this big wound, this rupture, this distortion that exists between, the masculine and the feminine, which is like the very fabric of life, actually. Because when the two forces suffer, the masculine and feminine, when they are distorted and disconnected or at war with each other, which we've, to be honest, have been for a long time, all of life suffers. The earth suffers. Our bodies suffer. Our children suffer. So a big part of this path, this offering of reunion, is about healing this split. And again, it doesn't have to be like men and women. It's masculine and feminine, the energies that, live within all of us. But in the body, in our relationships, not up here. It's not like a new theory course, And like I said, it begins with seeing this distortion clearly. And then slowly starting to choose a new path. Or in reality, like an old path, because this is how we used to live before this whole mayhem. Yeah, and there's something very essential here. This restoration, this return to the original masculine and feminine blueprint or like template. It doesn't really happen at the same pace or in the same way for men and women. The feminine right now is in, you could say, a form of kind of resurrection. And it sounds much maybe, but we see the masculine as in kind of in a form of crucifixion right now. So the feminine, we see this everywhere, is rising from centuries of suppression. And there's so much rage, and there's so much anger, and there's so much truth that needs to be expressed and heard and felt and received. And the masculine must face this, kind of the humbling of the ego, and, allow our previous illusions of leadership to kind of slowly dissolve, Also a hard one for me in the beginning, because I was also like, wait a minute, I did not create the patriarchy. I'm actually a good guy. This is not my doing. Which is kind of true, though it still lives in me subtly, which is what most men also discover when we dive into this work. And it's not about personal blame. It's like, this is the collective inheritance we have. This is the ask of men right now. Like, we suppress the women. Maybe not me, maybe not, but men did. We built the world. Men built the world as it is right now. The systems that suppress women in many ways. Now is the time for us to, begin to receive that pain. Because that is also our liberation and our return to truth. And it's not an easy process. For some, it feels like death, to be honest. Also for women, there's like an identity death at play here, but it's the death of the disease. It's the death that makes room for the resurrection. And so for women, the path is also intense. It's not easy for women to actually reclaim their full grief, their rage, their deep truth, and to actually begin to freely express it, because the mind, remember what we talked about in the beginning, it's like, oh, but what if he leaves me, what if she leaves me, what if I think most women know this, so we compromise. You compromise. So women, the feminine, must also meet their own dragons and conditioning. And the thing is, we can support each other in this, men and women, if we're all devoted to truth, which is the whole point of this container: devotion to truth. And truth is not always comfortable. So on this path, we're not here to cuddle the ego. We are here for truth, like capital T, objective truth, because that's the only thing that can kind of pierce all this conditioning. Yes. So how do we actually do this? How do we walk this path? And again, it's important for us to cement like this. We don't have a fixed program. It's not a new method. We're not there's no like weekly curriculum and assignments. There's no steps to complete. There's no program to finish. We're stepping away from that whole way of thinking, of constantly looking for something out there instead of actually what is here, what life is offering us in every moment. Because life isn't actually linear. So in this container, we follow what is alive. We follow what is here now, not what the mind planned, not what we think should be happening, but what life, like I said, is actually offering. in your body, in your emotions, in your nervous system, in your relationship, in your discomfort, in your contractions, in your joy, in your bliss, in all of it. So it's a very different path from like the self-development programs that are out there right now, because this is not something where we teach you how to fix your life. What we want to do is point to exactly that, the need to fix our life, What we want to do is to slowly guide you into learning how to meet life, how to be with life as it actually is, moment to moment to moment. Because this is what we learned, like I said in the beginning, with all the people we've worked with all the work we have done. Most of us have been taught to some degree, that the hard things, the hard emotions, the sadness, the anger, the grief, the confusion, these are things we need to resolve. They're signs something has gone wrong. And again, it figurates also in the spiritual world with the language, it's like we need to transcend it. We need to release the anger. We need to, alchemize it. There's always this focus on getting on the other side. Yes, there's something here. We need to feel it fully, but it's always like, because then A, B, C, D, There will be an outcome. But nothing is wrong. Like life didn't make a mistake. This is something we can sometimes think, like that we can kind of outsmart nature, thinking like, maybe life actually made a mistake with my pain, like with my anger or it can't be right. But the pain, the contractions, the things we are constantly trying to regulate or bypass or like transcend, like I said, the fear, the overwhelm, the numbness, it's not something to fix. So this is the question, like what if they're not mistakes? What if they are actually the kind of exact doorway back into real intimacy with life? Because, this is how nature works. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is wrong. Life doesn't make junk. Look out the window. Like we are the least needed, the least important species on this planet. Everything works perfectly without us. This is, the energy of creation moves through everything. It doesn't force the fruit to ripen on the fruit tree. It happens when it's supposed to. Everything flows according to the highest order. And then we think our emotions aren't part of that. It's like what life is offering me right now, my anger, my sadness, my numbness, can't be a purpose here. Must go to breathwork and release it, The conditioned mind, the part of us that's shaped by this world of control and performance, and it can't see that. It wants to put a label on everything. It wants to fix it, to control it, to be able to predict what will be the outcome here. This is the hardest thing for people when we ask them to actually merge fully with their anger, merge fully with their sadness. It's like, holy shit, then what? Stepping into that unknown. And I get it. We've been there. And then again, some of you right now might be sitting there thinking, well, hey, I feel my feelings. I do. And if you do, fully, bless you, but have you truly merged with them? Have you let them engulf you without the need for them to transcend or to alchemize, or have you just allowed the wave of your anger to wash over you, so that the life force underneath all that, all the life force that the depression has pressed down, has that become available to you? Have you had the experience of being able to now start to create with that life force down there? Because that is what this path offers for those who are devoted and have patience, And if not, then many of us will spend our days, subtly resisting all the very parts of us that are trying to bring us back home. So we do the opposite. We don't try to manage the process. We listen deeply. We surrender, which is another word used a lot in the healing communities, But there's a surrender that we can think of that comes from the mind, and there's a surrender that comes from the exhaustion of fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. That surrender where, you kind of give up. There's no choice but to allow everything. And that's where the magic happens. That's where we truly begin to soften into what we call the will of creation. When we follow what's alive in our field, when we follow what's showing up in our bodies, what's surfacing in our relationships, what's revealing itself through the discomfort and resistance and silence and numbness, and through that together, we build deeper and deeper and deeper levels of awareness, seeing our conditioning clear and clear and clear. And we build a deeper and deeper energetic capacity to be with everything that life offers us, which I think is what we're all searching for with all the things we're doing, all the healing work, all the modalities. We're like searching for that place where life is just okay, as it is. Because we're not, nobody can offer like end result where everything is just hunky-dory all the time. Hunky-dory, where everything is just, dancing and eating cake and having a grand old time. But we can offer with devotion and patience, to become so available to life, so accustomed to allowing everything, that you see the offerings that life has to bring you in all of it, that you actually welcome it, that you welcome the anger, that you welcome the sadness, because this is life trying to offer you something.
But not only feel it, merge with it, which is what we will be doing in Reunion. Merge with the emotions, not just feel them. There's a difference. Also
a hard one to understand. And usually we say this a lot, like, don't believe us, actually. Because this is just one mind, two minds speaking to some other minds. We are kind of, all of us now in the conditioning. We are very aware that this is something that needs to be experienced. You have to find your own truth in it. To start to see, all the patterned responses we've inherited from our parents, from society, from the thousands of years of conditioning we talked about, and to begin to slowly step out of that trance we're all in. To see it, all of it, as the illusion it actually is. And instead of, continuing to try to control life and force life and manage life and plan and predict and use all this energy, we begin to actually let life guide us. Which is actually what we mean when we say we're surrendering our will to creation. Which is not about becoming passive. It's not about giving up agency. It's just about, softening the grip on the wheel and realizing, there's something much deeper than your plans and your strategies and your self-improvement projects and, that wants you to move through. There's a deeper intelligence. There's the living intelligence of life that we are on this path learning to become available to. So the whole notion of like becoming better, it's not about becoming better, it's becoming more available to life where it actually is, moment to moment. And in the grander schemes, maybe you've read this on the website, but to become like an embodied vessel of creation. That's what we're doing here. That sounds grand. Not many people are there. We don't know a lot of people who have actually given up their will, have given up the idea of forcing and fighting life all the time and actually just move with what creation wants. But there are some. And this is what we're doing here. This is what we're essentially moving towards. So actually becoming available to what life wants to create through me, what life wants to create through Shikoba, instead of constantly trying to force our own will onto life, which we spend an enormous amount of life force doing. So we're relearning how to be with what is, how to truly feel again without, purpose, without turning away. And so, from there, life can begin to utilize us instead of us utilizing life, or trying to. And from that place, use our minds, use all the beautiful skills we have, use all the, it's a beautiful machine, I was about to say, it's a beautiful thing, creation up here. We don't want to leave it behind. We just want to be very mindful of what is running it. So there's a place where I can be like, holy shit, I need to go to the gym because I'm fat and I won't get any love if I look like this. That's my conditioning. But there's also a place, and I've tried this many times, where it's like creation saying, hey, 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 take care of your vessel. Then I go to the gym. But there's a big difference. And there's a big difference in what that workout, how my body reacts to it. So we're not leaving behind the mind, but we are asking it to release the disease, and that's not always comfortable. It's not predictable, but it's real. And like I said before, I think it's what so many of us have been longing for, and sometimes maybe without even knowing it. Anything to add?
I'm taking the back seat today.
Okay, so the nitty-gritty of it, structure-wise, it's a container of 3 months. We meet every week for live group calls like this. We write it on the website also, but this is a container where we are dedicated to the will of creation and not to a schedule. So sometimes the calls are 1 hour. They have never been 1 hour. They are 2 hours. We had one yesterday that was 3.5. So we are going with what is alive within the group. There's 16 people in the present container. We will hopefully land on something similar with the new one.
And there will be replays for this. And if you have children, the children are welcome if you need them in your lap. So it's not, we meet life where it is.
We have an online group somewhere. I think maybe we're going to move it to another place, so I won't say where it is. We have an online forum, private, for the group, where we can share, where you are invited to share about your process, and where we respond to some of the shares. We bring some invitations, some teachings, some reflections, sometimes in video form, sometimes in writing. But it's important to say, we are following the will of creation, so we are not saying each week you will receive A, B, C, D. No, there will be a call, there's the group, and then we go with the flow of creation. So there's not a, like I said, no curriculum, no like lesson schedule. It's what's alive in the field. And trust me, there's a lot to dig into there when we start to open up. And it's really a beautiful thing to be able to do it. There's singles and there's, you know, partners in romantic relationships. There's people who have parted ways, and there's, you know, same-sex couples, and it's a beautiful opportunity to actually be able to do this work. And there's offerings for all of us through the reflections of everybody there. So this is, you know, what people sometimes ask us about, like, do I need to be in a relationship here? No. What do we have now? Like 3? There's a lot of singles, right?
I think it's half couples.
50-50.
I don't know.
There's no requirement. You don't need, actually, I think we experienced that some of the people who have done less work are actually, you know, the more we have built like a scaffolding of other trainings and stuff, the harder it can be for us to release the grip on all that. So it's like, if you haven't done any work before, beautiful. If you've done a lot of work before, beautiful. The only requirement we have, and which is why we are asking for just a short little call with everybody who feels, you know, inclined to join, is that we are asking for devotion. And obviously that's hard to say, like, I will be devoted for 3 months, but we can sense into it when we speak to you if it feels like, oh yeah, this is actually feels like a match for us, a fit for the group to invite you in. So that is it, a devotion to truth.
To truth.
And what does that mean? You know, that can also be hard, but we can sense that. And yeah, so anyone really is welcome. And I don't know, I think maybe that's it.
Yeah, just wanting to echo a few things, you know, just reminding you this is not a self-improvement program or another modality or another scripture to follow. We will invite you into some things that are quite simple, but as many of those in our current group will probably say to you that it's so simple that the conditioning takes 3 months to actually get it, and maybe more, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And that's why devotion is the key to this work, because it's from all the work we've done, you know, all of the self-improvement and all the inner work, you know, this is the deepest integration we have found, the deepest embodiment, the deepest, you know, merging with life, and actually, you know, coming into the truth of who we are. And it all sounds so very big and beautiful, and it is, but it's also, you know, challenging, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy. You know, we are going to probably repeat ourselves 1,000 times, like we've also done in the group that is running right now. But we also see the progress that is happening in these people. And even a participant yesterday in one of our calls shared with us that she really felt the truth of this. She now, like we did, questioned all the trainings she previously had, you know, all the ways she had learned to manage and control and regulate her feelings and so on. But now actually being with life, with creation in truth. And this is what we will invite you into in this 3-month container of reunion, that is also, like we've shared, a deep, you know, healing of the thread between the masculine and the feminine. And I know it's been challenging for some of the couples in our current group, but also something that can weave us together so much stronger, because everything that was based on all of this conditioning within the feminine and masculine is seen and merged with, and life reorganizes. And it's been a huge part of you know, our complete relationship transformed from this work. Was it easy? No.
Is it over? No.
But
Is it for life? Yes.
is it also fun? Yeah. But you know, so but it's a devotion to a new way of being, and you know, many of you will probably say, "Oh, I've done all the work. I know all my traumas. I know all my things," and they're beautiful. But many of us do, but from the mind, from within the conditioning, and this is what we are going to dive deeply into in this container. And for us, you know, it's become the only path forward, and what we really see will reorganize, you know, the mayhem that we've created in this world, not and in ourselves, first and foremost. So it's a very beautiful, interesting, challenging path, but you're so welcome if you feel the calling. But maybe we open up for questions if anyone.
Yeah, I was also thinking, like, no pressure. Matilda, you're here. I don't know, she's in our present group. If you want to share a word or two about how it has impacted you, you're very welcome. If not, I get it, and it's okay. But the offer is there.
I can do that.
As long as you say something good.
Yeah. Oh, but
That was
there's a
conditioning.
reason why I'm here again, right? Yeah, I mean, for me, when I saw this, when you started to offer this the first time, it was like, for me, like there was just absolutely no question that I was gonna do this and join this, because it just resonated so much inside myself. And I have had a lot of talks with Chikopa also before, where I feel like she has presented some of it. So I've kind of like had a little taste of some of this work, but still from, as we have also talked about many times, still from this cognitive and mind perspective of, yeah, this rings truth and this resonate. And so these 3 months has really just been for me to actually start to embody more and more and more. And I can be very honest and say that this has been some of the most challenging things I've ever done, like probably the most. I've been through hell in so many ways the last 3 months. And then at the same time, is the best thing I've ever done for myself, to actually learn to be with what is, and stop escaping what I've been escaping my whole life, and learn how to be with that. And I cannot say that I have fully surrendered to it in every moment, but I feel like I have come so extremely much closer, and I can feel how surrender happens so much easier. I, in general, just feel like I am so much more connected to myself and to my truth, and I have found this devotion to truth, and to actually, you know, because I've also done a lot of work and a lot of trauma work, and I've known my patterns, but I feel like this work has offered me really this ability to be devoted to the truth behind those patterns, and to actually constantly also to learn when I fail, like when I not fail, but like when I step into my old patterns, then learn from it, and like just constantly being in this, cultivating this inner observer. And I'm really like, I don't know if everybody from the previous group feels this way, but for me, it feels like there's absolutely no return. Like there's no way to return, because I have seen my own conditioning so clearly, and I see how it plays out and how it runs. And because of that, I also see it in other people, like right away almost. And yeah, I feel very inspired, and I really feel like, for me, this works really fits into to how I want to participate in this world, how I like my truth, basically. And it doesn't always come with like, oh, I would like to do this, because as you also know, like there's a lot of things that I don't want to do or I would like to do, and then it's like, no, you're not supposed to, or no, or you are supposed to do this even though you don't want to do it. So like there's all these times this a lot of a lot of stepping away from the ego, but it's also beautiful. And I feel like I have also, practiced this a little bit before in my own healing journey. Like there has been a lot of times where I needed to surrender to something that I didn't want it to do. But now it just feels like a more clear path. And yeah, I can highly recommend it, but I can also only recommend it if it's something that feels true. Like I think it's very important to feel like this resonance and a sense of devotion somehow. But maybe that also comes with going forward. At least that's my experience, that it grows the more I experience it. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matilda.
Thank you, Matilda.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I know other people have spoken to some of the same that you're in, and also there's some people who are in a place where there's still confusion, and it's, also we're not done yet. So I mean, we're trusting the will of creation in that sense that everybody is exactly where they're supposed to be. And
And also just being completely transparent, this is a 3 month, container, but this is for life. If you choose to, if you really sense the truth of it, this will continue to unfold your whole life, which is also the beauty of it. So there's no end destination. There's no goal to be achieved. There is nothing but learning to be with the truth that is here and available in each moment, which can be
Yeah,
hard.
which is also why I'm here again, because I feel like there's more to, like, it's nice to have like fellow travelers on this path somehow.
Yeah, we learn a lot from each other, both in our truth and in our conditioning, and in which is why this container is very much a co-creation between everyone who joins. It's not just us sitting around talking all day.
thank you, Matilda. It's very valuable to get some insights from someone on the path, and especially this thing about there's a point where there's actually kind of no return in a good way, because you start to actually be fueled by the process. Yes, it's hard, but you see the changes and you see how going back is not a possibility, and that actually creates new energy, and it's a beautiful place to be. So thank you. And I realize, for those of you that are here that haven't heard about this before, that this all sounds very like maybe abstract or fluffy, and like, but what do we actually do? And I like what Matilda shared, in the sense that a lot of the people who've come, they just kind of know. There's a knowing, and there's something here that I need to explore. That being said, I imagine there might be some questions, and this is a 1 hour crash introduction into what potentially is a path of a lifetime unfolding. So if you feel like you have more questions than when you came here, that also makes sense. But if there's anything we can address while we're here, please, yeah, you can raise your hand on the what's it called, react button, or you can just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Can't see.
Or you can write in the chat if you prefer not speaking.
Please, not all at once.
You just got it. You got it all.
You got it
Perfect.
all. 1 hour transmission. No need to join.
Guido is warming up with a question. I see it.
Well, to be really honest, I don't know. Do you hear me?
Yes, good to
Yes.
see you and hear you.
I thought it was really, really clear what you guys told. So I don't really have a question. I just want to say to you, this is really clear to me, the way you expressed it, and yeah, it was really straightforward, straight to the point. And I get it, you know where we've been. So I truly get why you do this. And yeah, even I do want to join. I'm going to say this right now already. Um, But even if I don't get anything from it, which I don't imagine to happen, I really want to support you on this cause because I think this, yeah, to if you even can help people, this is the best way to do it, I guess. With all of our experience, at least in my experience, yeah, well, you get it, you know
Yeah.
who I am. That was
Beautiful.
all I wanted to share. So yeah, thanks for sharing this.
Thank you for receiving and for
So
that
welcome.
beautiful reflection. I love it.
I
Maybe it's a
also,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I also don't have any question, but I just want to say goodbye because I went to bed. He's been really good playing with his books and things on the background here. But yeah, very excited to join together
Yeah.
with you guys
You're
in
so
this new.
welcome.
We look
And
forward.
love you, Cece.
Love you. Take care. Sweet dreams. Yeah. So actually, before anybody else maybe wants to jump off, we offer a 40% discount for those of you on the call now that want to join. It will be there's 5 spots available for this price. It's first come first serve, and it runs until February 1st. If the places haven't been taken before. So if anybody feels to join with a discount, there's that invitation. Still, for those of you we don't know, we'd like to, at least to have a little short call, just to sense into like where you are, to see that it's a match, and to be able to secure that we have a group that supports one another. So that being said, any other questions or anybody else wanting to say that everything is super clear?
Hi. Actually, I don't have any question, but I want to say thank you for this space. I just checked the dates for the next container during the webinar. Unfortunately, I'm not available in these days, but maybe in another time our pets can come together. So now this webinar helped me to know you. I know you are there. And when the right time comes, I think I will find you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're always welcome when it aligns.
That's another thing, actually, a question that we often get. Like, I have kids. I do stuff Tuesday nights and so on. And our invitation is, of course, to see if we can participate in as many calls as possible, but also
And
honor.
actually, it's actually maybe going to be moved to Wednesday nights. We talked about that. So we'll see.
Okay. The will of creation is still willing its way. So there are people in our group that sometimes joins an hour later or leaves earlier or have their kids with them or, watches mostly replays and then participate in the group. So just to say, our invitation is to see to it that you participate in as many calls as possible, but it's not like a requirement. I would say the more you are in the course and you share and you participate in that space, the more you will also receive.
Great.
Julia,
Yes. We've talked about this before also on Mani Padma Hum, but I still will ask the difference between feeling and merging. And I guess you're going to experience the difference whilst you do it, but maybe you still have some input again, because my conditioned brain. This is, yeah.
It's a very deep one that we can't really go fully into in such a short time, because it's something that will organically start to happen as we are doing this work, and as you follow our invitations that we will give you in the group, and there will be much in depth there. I don't know how to shortly.
I mean, there's different kind of levels of like markers of the fact that we are alive, that we let go of slowly one by one, when we're in this practice that we're using in this path. That's not really a practice, but the thing we're inviting you into on a daily basis, we're slowly kind of letting go of level of these kind of markers, and the last one of them is this one, and I think the main difference is that so many times when we are trying to feel our feelings, there's a direction to it, there's a purpose to it, there's a
stories
need,
arising.
there's a story, there's a a purpose, where it's really hard to actually let that go, which is why we're starting with really learning to observe how this is controlling us. And at some point, and it's something that happens organically, often through like an actual surrender, not the one that comes from here, but the exhaustion of being with this part of ourselves, that then this goes, and then suddenly you are still feeling, but you are immersed in it, you are merged with it, you have become the feeling, because this one is less present, or hopefully like not at all present. And I think that's the short way of kind of trying to describe it. It's so often like, okay, I know it's good for me to feel my anger, now I will go into the woods and scream and I feel my anger, or
And
whatever it
perhaps
is.
also someone, many have also learned to observe their mind, but it's observance alone can't do it. The conditioning alone, the mind alone can't do it. There is a whole cycle where the emotions is the final frontier of the embodiment. So there's the observance, the conditioning, the learning to feel the emotions, but not just feel them, but to merge with them, which is something we will go deeply into in the container.
Thank you so much. I think I've been there, and my body and mind remember a while ago, but yes, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that on this path, in these calls, in the group, we are inviting everybody to actually share truth, even when that truth is coming from conditioning, like not withholding anything, because there's a part of us that knows we should be, more evolved or more something, because, as we say, there's an offering from life in everything, and that's the same with our relationships. So we do this work together, because when Julia asks a question, when Tukpa asks a question, or there's an offering for everybody in the group that points into where we are on our journey, or makes something click, or creates a deeper understanding. So this is also the main purpose of our calls. We will share something every time, but then also there's a big invitation. The big part of the calls are actually just inviting people into, okay, where are you in your process? What's alive in you? And for us to reflect on that, and everybody to receive the offering there is for the whole group in that.
Not from story, but from truth. And that's also a big part of it, to learn to decipher when we're in story and when we are actually in truth.
Any other questions? You're welcome, iPhone 3. Good to have you. Okay. Since I just heard that we might be moving the calls to Wednesday, I feel obliged to promise you that we'll send out something quickly around that, if that's the case. And otherwise, if you have any questions, after this call, you're welcome to reach out, and we will send you an email with the I guess it's gonna be like a code, like a, what do you call those things? A code for the discount, if you want to use it.
Discount code.
Discount code is a good word. Makes sense. Yeah. So thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you for being present with us this evening and for tuning in and feeling a whisper from Reunion. And just as Andreas said, reach out if there's any questions or anything you would like to share with us. And for those of you that doesn't know us, we, as mentioned, would like a call before signing up. So reach out if that's your truth, and we'll catch you on the flip side.